I'm gonna record this and then just see what happens. Hi, good to see
Hey,
you.
how are you, Naomi?
Yeah, good. It's a little Monday morning-ish. It's like, woo, woo, everything's coming. It's a full moon. Da, 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 da. But I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like packing. I'm flying tonight, so lots
Yeah.
of things to do. I still have to meet someone in the park and come back and do dinner for my mom and all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, full on. Well, we could just, launch in and see what wants to come through in this moment and then let you get back to the busyness of preparation.
Yeah, I sent you some videos. Did you see that?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I
Okay,
posted a
are those
video the other day and I'm gonna post one today and then I'll post the
great?
next one and, you know, we'll just
Great.
space them out
So
during
I
this.
think the best, if you want to ask any questions, I think that's the most useful, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay, great.
I'm here. I'm here.
You're earring.
Yes.
No, I'm earring. So, yeah, well, maybe first just to start out, if you want to introduce your background, just a little bit of like where you're from and what you've been up to in your life in a little brief. I mean, obviously your book has way more, but just yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Argentina, and I'm the son of a human rights activist against the dictatorship. So I grew up with activism in my blood, but it was a special activist because my father was a rabbi, and I was grew up in the summer camp in nature where my mother and father created this camp. And I grew up in the city, but this camp I would go every summer, and this camp integrated nature with sports because it was a youth camp, and Jewish values, and also justice, and they were kind of one, and art, and so creativity. So I grew up with that feeling.
Mm.
um, at age 16, I became really active against the dictatorship and the human rights movement. And then I started traveling around the world and became a nomadic poet. I was writing poetry then, and I was before I left, I was in a underground magazine, and then I started writing poetry, and I went to Greece first. I was like 22, and then I got to um, Paris for a year after 4 months in Greece, and then I New York. So my itinerary went like this, and then I met a woman. We went to Africa and hitchhiked for 4 months in East Africa all the way to Zimbabwe.
Wow.
And then, yeah, then I stayed in Sinai where I lived for a year. I had a camel there with some friends and built
Wow.
a house in a valley there and spent a year there before I got into Israel Palestine. So my entrance was from the Bedouin land of Sinai.
Mm.
And then it was 29 years in Israel Palestine, based there. I traveled a lot, and we started a ritual theater group in the early 90s with some people there, multidisciplinary, multimedia, multi faith, multi everything. And there was a very few actors actually in the ritual theater, but we got a grant to be part of this ritual theater festival, and we got a house in the north of Israel. And after that, I began my. Uh, I went to we went to India. We used to travel every year, the members of the group, to study different cultures and come back and teach
Mm.
each other what we learned. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, I started this peace project called the Sulha Peace Project, which was Palestinians and Israelis at the height of the Intifada. I also was seminal in bringing Jewish renewal, which is a way of bringing the ancestral wisdom in color and relevant to these times, coherent with the values of peace and justice. So in 2001, in the second Intifada, we started the Sulha Peace Project, and
Mm.
we started with 150 people. And in 2008, the last one that I was part of as a co-director of the organization, we had 7,000 people, trucks from buses from Gaza and the West Bank, representatives from the Dalai Lama and
Mm.
South Africa, and all kind of cultures that were had conflict. And from there, I started, after I left that organization, we started gatherings with Iranians and Israelis in the mountains of Turkey. If it's too much, tell me and I'll stop, and you
It's
can,
great. I love it. Yeah, totally.
I
It's
continue. Okay.
fascinating. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after that, in Turkey, we had 4 years of gatherings once a year for 2 weeks in nature with Iranians and Israelis, hosted by Turks and internationals. And after that, I already, felt the need to expand beyond the family of Abraham, and that's where I came to Tamera. Actually, after
Mm-hmm.
the 2014 war in Gaza, we had a refuge camp, peace camp called "We Refuse to Be Enemies" in the midst of the war,
Mm.
and that's where I met, I had met them before, some of them, but this time I really connected and bonded with the founder of Tamera, her daughter Sabine and Vera,
Mm-hmm.
and there was Bernd, the waterman, also there. And I don't remember if there was, oh, there was a neighbor from Tamera also. And we were about 50 Israelis, 50 Palestinians there. And that's when they invited me to Tamera. I was part of that global love school where I met you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And after that, we started this thing. I was invited to become part of this thing called Defend the Sacred, which was sacred activists from different paths and religions, and all from global activists from all over the world, and who had spirit at the core of their activism.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been meeting for 7 years with this alliance.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've left Israel Palestine in 2020 in the pandemic. I sold my house, and then I
Mm.
left in 2021. Actually, there was a conflict, and I left, and I've been traveling ever since until last year, where I came, and now I'm taking care in New York City. I'm taking care of my mom, who's
Mm.
88 years old, and I also taking care of my new baby, which is a little book called "On the Verge of the Verb." So I'm also a
Mm.
doula, death doula with my mom, kind of thing, and a midwife with my little book.
Aw.
And I'm a musician. I didn't say that. I have four
Mhm.
albums of music, and yeah, and two books of poetry in Spanish, because my first language is Spanish. And this book, On the Verge of the Verb, is kind of an autobiographical fiction of
Mhm.
prophetic sorts.
Mhm.
And that's how I describe it loosely. And it has humor, of course, but it also has my real life stories, because I'm the main character. But I tell my fictional stories to. Sorry, we are involved in a fictional adventure together. So I
Okay.
gather and recruit together kindred spirits, and we organize and manifest a massive healing event in the grave of Abraham in
Mhm.
Hebron, Khalil, and then in Jerusalem we do
Mhm.
a massive ceremony with more than 1 million people and luminaries from the earth. And I'm not going to
Mm.
give away the whole thing,
Yeah.
but within that, I share also my shadows,
Mm.
sexually, and also my shadows, the shadows of what it is to create a group, and the shadow of the hero, and the shadow of the savior, and all those. I
Mm.
think the
Wow.
victim and the perpetrator, people know very well how to deal with, but the hero is the one that white people, especially who were brought up in Judeo-Christian myths, are hard to get out. So
Mm.
basically, getting out of the anthropocentric model and
Mm.
trying to be not in the middle of the screen, but give respect to trees and mountains and rivers, and
Mm.
um
Mhm.
take our proper space in the hoop of life or in the screen of reality. And so that's part of the book as well. It's kind of a manual of sacred activism. And my music, I sing in many different languages because, of course, beyond in my nomadic travels and also in my tours, I've been in the 5 continents. I speak 6 languages and sing in more than 8 or 9. I don't know, don't count them, but it's like a bridge between cultures and hearts.
Yeah.
So I when I do a prayer formance, which is what I'm coming to do,
Hmm.
to
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you want to speak a
okay,
little
so
bit too at
you
the
asked me. I've been
evening.
talking too long. Yeah.
No, no,
Go
it's
ahead.
great. And so yeah, like there's so much inspiration in what you've shared and like wow, all the things that you've done and then how do you bring that into an evening that you're offering here to us?
Yeah, I think how I put it is in 90 minutes we co-create a spontaneous sacred community,
Mm,
and we do that through song, through selected readings of some paragraphs of my book,
mm,
and through a vibe that weaves
mm,
the hearts of the people in the room and the wind and the light and whatever is in the room, with a guitar. I'll be singing. We'll be singing together. Also,
mhm,
it's interactive. There's, yeah, people might need to move or not. And
mhm,
then, yeah, and then I think and I have a guest on percussion. Colin is I think he lives most of the time in Salt Spring and some time in Vancouver,
mhm.
and he and I will finish with a Q&A, so I think people can ask about the book. I'll have my books there,
Great.
and yeah, it's going to be a deep and intimate and fun time.
Amazing. Yay. We're so excited to receive you and yeah, just feel the richness of your life experience and all the heartfulness that you have brought to these really intense issues that are, yeah, I mean, really at a pinnacle, as usual, maybe where it's always a pinnacle, but it is, it's
No, it's
intentional, it's
intensifying. I agree
intense.
with you. I think
Yeah.
it's intensifying. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is
Not
so,
only in Israel, Palestine, but also in the States and and
yeah,
in Argentina, that my three identities are totally compromised.
yeah,
They're coming. I
yeah.
feel like they're
You're,
closed in.
yeah, you're in the pressure cooker. Yeah,
Yes.
and we are all in some ways, and we're sheltered here where I am, but I think we're feeling it for sure, and some people more than others, depending on their connection to those issues. But yeah, I feel just so grateful to have the opportunity to gather people together and to feel and dream, you know? So yeah,
Yeah, it's like a sanctuary, is a time for creating, spontaneous sanctuaries, I feel,
yeah.
and as a kind of a nomad troubadour or flexitarian minstrel, as I like to call myself, yeah, I think we need to create these spaces of sanctuary of
Mm,
the cracks between fear and despair and anger and and I want to live my own life and all of those spaces, to create a sanctuary within the cracks of all those spaces. And
mm,
I want
mhm.
community, but I want to live my life, but I want a partner, but I want to be poly, but I want all those things,
Yes.
are they have cracks,
Mm,
and the cracks are delicious. That's where the nectar is found in these
mm,
times, because when
mm,
something is dying, and I can feel it with my mom is not dying. She's cool. She just went out for a walk,
mm.
but I can feel her when she loses it, or when
Yeah.
um and so that place between death and life, between the doula and the midwife, is a very special place,
Mhm.
and that's where we're living now. I don't know how long it will take until we start seeing some kind of baby culture, but
Yeah.
the only thing we can do is create little sanctuaries where all the feelings are allowed and welcomed, and we become trampolines for each other's shine, you know.
Mm-hmm. Wow, beautiful. I think that's a great phrase to end on. Yeah, let's become trampolines for each other's shine. I love that. Ah, thank you so much for, yeah, just taking the time to share all of that. And I'm excited to share this video. I feel like it's going to be a nice little, like, hey, everybody, this is what's coming. Come on. Yeah, yeah,
Great.
thanks so much. Yeah, so good to see you. And I'm excited to get to hang out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward. I was there only for 1 day and I loved it, so I want more.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I need it.
totally.
I'm coming from New York City and, intense times. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Come to the sanctuary that we're holding here. Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
yeah. Good luck with your preparations for travel.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. See you soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Mhm.